Hello, hello. Welcome back to our series. So this will be our day 7 for our Cisco Certified Network Associate 2025 series. So we're going to deep dive on RIP, how the timer works, and also DHCP and DNS. So DHCP is a domain host control protocol. So why are we using it? And also DNS, which is a domain name system, or uh, and how are we going to apply it on our lab. Okay, so we already jumped into the 4.3 topics in Cisco. Again, you can go to the Cisco website and check the list of topics for CCNA. I think the last time our last lab would be we're already like just in 2 point something, but I decided to jump into these important topics because the topics for 2.0 is more on definition, terms, theoretical. So I'm preparing our lectures for that. But I'd like to jump over to DHCP and DNS. This will be a critical topic and something that we can apply right away on our laboratory. So again, for DHCP, for Dynamic Host Control Protocol, if you're going to read the definition, it's by automatically assigning IP addresses on our setup. Even if you're going to go to your own PC, like so it's going to be ncpa.cpl. That's a shortcut for network configuration. So by default, so I'm connected into Wi-Fi. So by default, our configuration, if we're going to go to the IPv4 protocol, this is where you're going to see your IP address. You're always using a DHCP because this is how you use a static IP, like what we're doing in our previous lab. This is how we're using our DHCP for obtain an IP address automatically. So that's what we're going to set up on our lab. And why are we using DHCP? In a real setup, in a corporate setup, you don't like to set up a static IP on each of the users on the company. Now, let's say you have a department that has 100 users. Like you don't like it to set up all of the IP addresses of those users. So in real world, we use static IP for like servers, like critical host. So that's where we would like to set up our static IP for DHCP. So like every user or endpoint machines, this is where we would like to set up our DHCP IP. Okay. Right now, let's also go with domain name systems since we're going to apply it in the lab. In a single lab simultaneously. So for the domain name system, so it's as easy as like this one. We have example.com. So instead of you typing like 172.16.8.13, that's all. You have a DNS server that we're going to query this domain name, and they're the one who's going to translate it for you. So in short, you can use this IP if you remember the IP, but it's not the best practice. Or you can use this domain name so that that specific server, that specific DNS will direct you over to this IP. So we have a different records like A record. So A records, it's a it's a record of this domain name and its corresponding IP. We have AAA quad A record. It's for IPv6, but it does the same. We have the C name. C name is a type of record that will point a domain name to another domain name. Usually, we're using it if you have a subdomain on this one, or maybe you have multiple, like you change the naming convention of that server, and you just would like to just redirect it over to this old domain name. Also, we have MX record. So MX record, it's for mail server, and we have NS. That's for a name server if we'd like to um, delegate the query to a respective authoritative name server. But right now, we're just going to focus on A records. That's what we're going to create on our lab. So this will be our topology. So if it's having as simple as a main network. So this will be our main network. Okay, the main network, and we have a satellite network. So in our setup, we're going to use SRIP as a routing protocol, and then we're going to create a DHCP server here and a DNS server, and maybe some few web servers for us to test those servers here and also on the main network. So like what we mentioned, so these are assuming these are like users. So we would like to connect to the DHCP. So this will be the DHCP server, and they have a different network. So this one would be 2.0 and this one would be 1.0. So we're going to create two pools, meaning two DHCP pools, in order for us to provide IP address for this and IP address for this one. Okay, so let's start with our lab. So let me pull our lab. Okay, so this will be our lab. Okay, so as you can see right now, we don't have any IP addresses yet. So it's already on a DHCP configuration. We're not getting any IP 169. That's the loopback IP if we're not getting a response from a DHCP. So let's try to go to the server and device and then pick up a server. So let's say the server would be our DHCP server. Okay, so let me put this one here. So our server, let me just put an IP. So we're going to use 1 point network for this one. So I'll start with configuration. So for the configuration, IP address would be 192.168, let's say 1.11 or 1.8. And then for the office network, so let's just same the broadcast IP with this network. So it's 255.255.255.192. Gateway would still be the same, 192.168.1.1. So we mentioned we're going to like to set up a DHCP. So this will be the DHCP server. So this will be the main pool. So main, then let's see if we can name it like this, 1.0. Okay, so the default gateway, it's still the same, 1.1. DNS, we don't have any DNS yet. So start IP address, so let's say that it start at 20. Okay, and the subnet mask would be the same. Yep. So why did I start with 20? Because I'd like to have that 1 to that 19 to be a static IP. So those are our allocation for a specific type of servers. Let me see. Can we modify or edit? Okay, so I cannot rename the pool. Okay, so this is like the server pool, like we cannot modify it. If that's the case, let's just use this as our pool for our secondary. Like, so this one would be the main pool, and this will be for the satellite office. So for the satellite office, it's going to be 192.168.2.0. So DNS, so we don't have, so 2. Again, sort 20, and this one doesn't have any network, so we're just going to save it. Okay, so we have server pool for our satellite office, and then we have main, which is for this one. Apparently we cannot change the server pool name as a default, so that's why it did not properly name it. It's more on the capabilities or limitation of the simulation tool itself. So let's see if that's going to work. So it's still off, so let me just turn it on. So for this one, so I'm going to apply it. You can actually use it like this one, IP config, like static and DHCP, for you to check if it's already working, like for this one. So as you can see, it already have the IP address of 1.21 that's sorting from the pool that we have created. But I also would like to show you, let's say if this one is not yet working, if you're going to check the IP config, okay, it's already working. You guys, say if you'd like to reset like IP address, you can use this specific command, ipconfig renew. So I just like to show you the command use on how, like this one, I'm going to release the IP address and try to check if we can get a new IP address, like for this one, 1.22, right? So I just like to show you the real commands that we can use if we are on the actual PC, because for this config tab, this is more on just in the UI itself of the packet tracer, but in real computer, this is how you check if the DHCP is already working. You have to release the IP and then you like to renew it. And on our case, after we renew, we get a different IP from the pool. Now, we also set up the IP address on this one. Let's see. So it's DHCP. So let's try to see. Go to the desktop. Sorry, desktop. So IP config. So as you can see, we're not getting the IP that we would like to have. Let's try to IP config release, okay, and IP config renew. Let's see if we're going to get that. Okay, so I'm failing on the DHCP request. So let's see what's happening on the backend. So let's try to simulate it. So if we're going to go to the IP and go to the simulation, okay. So let's say we're going to put it on static again, just to reset. And then let's go with the DHCP and let's see what's happening in the simulation. So as we all know, DHCP, it's a broadcast packet, so it will try to send broadcast message to whoever is available to that network. And then it's sending to the router because we need to go to the specific server. So, and then, okay. So as you can see here, we're failing. It receives the frame, but it does not know where the DHCP server is. And by default, routers, they drop like broadcast or broadcast packet, so it's not receiving that IP here, as you can see. That's why we're not receiving any IP from our computer. So what we're going to do, let's put it real time. So we have to define what is the DHCP server, like this one. The DHCP server would be 1.8. So that's the 1.8. So we need to tell the router, because on the simulation, it's dropping the packet on the router side. That's why we're not getting the IP. So from the interface of gig01, so we're going to go to the interface. So interface config enable config terminal interface gig01. We're going to tell the router to, if we receive any DHCP packet or broadcast packet to going to a DHCP server, it will route it to that network. So see 1.8. So going to IP helper address 192.168.1.8. So this is the command that we input to gig01 1.8. Exit, and let's try to simulate it again. Go to the PC configuration, go with the static, Then let's try to do the simulation from this PC, and then go to the DHCP, and let's try. So it's now sending the DHCP packet going to the switch, and now receiving to the router. So we've set up the IP helper address to see to transfer to convert that into a unicast, so that it will resend to. So as you can see, it's now sending to the switch. So from let's go back. So from here, instead of dropping it, so outbound. So let's see, relay agent. Okay, 1.8. So as you can see, it's this is the inbound. This is where the broadcast is, and going out, we can see that the source IP would be this one, and then it's now creating a unicast packet going to our DHCP server, which is the 1.8 server, because of that specific command. So as you can see, it will send the packet to all of the routers from this network until it receives the it sends to the DHCP server, and then going back so that we're going to receive it. So let's stop the simulation. I think it's already working now. Let's see if we're going to receive. So right now we did not receive it yet, but let's go to the command prompt, ipconfig, so ipconfig release, ipconfig renew. Let's see if we're going to. Let's try one more time. Why it's not? See. Let's see. Why I'm not receiving it? Okay, we're not receiving the packet yet. Why? Okay, we're just done with the setup here. Let's see. Let's double check the configuration. Maybe the gateway. Let's check the gateway, the DHCP. The pool for 2.0 would be this one. Start IP. Default gateway is not 2.0, it's 2.1. That's why. That's okay. Let's see if we're going to okay now. Okay. DHCP 1.0 start IP address. Okay, why? Okay, that's weird. Why this is both one? I think this is our. Okay, let me just fix it. This would be for the main pool. Let's save it. This is 1.1. Save it. This would be for our secondary. Oh my god. 2.1. Just forget about the name convention for now. But we've created 1.20 with a gateway of 1.1, 2.1 gateway with starting with 2.0. Regardless of the name that's going to work. Okay, here we go. It's ready. I think I was I got confused with the configuration on DHCP a while ago, but it's already working. So it's already 2.0, so we're now getting IP address from this PC from our DHCP server. Now let's create a simple DNS server, just going to make it real quick. So we have here server. Okay, and then another server. Okay. Okay. So for this server, we're going to create a DNS. So this one would be a DNS server. Say the IP would be 192.168.1.9. And then a web server like maybe facebook.com 192.168.1.10. Okay. So for the DNS server, let's go to the configuration first of the IP. So 192.168.1.9. Same broadcast IP, and then the default gateway would be 168.1.1, and the DNS server would be 192.168.1.9 would be the DNS server itself. Then going to the DNS, we're going to create one record. So we mentioned that it's facebook.com. So it's facebook.com, and it's going to be a record, and the IP address of facebook.com would be 192.168.1.10. So add this one, and let's on the server. Okay, we're all set for this one. So this will be just a default. Let's say this would be the Facebook 1.10 255.255.255.192 192.168.1.1, and the DNS server would be 1.9. Alright, all good. For services, it's going to be HTTP, so it's both enabled. So this will be the interface that we're going to see. Let's say okay, what's the starting page? Maybe this one, hello world. Let's take this one is facebook.com. So of course this is not a web course, so I'm not going to explain you how HTML works, but yeah, we're just going to write a simple facebook.com just to differentiate the two. So yep. Okay, let's see. Okay, so right now let's try. So our every configuration, so going to the desktop, so we'd like to access facebook.com. So let's say go to the web browser from PC1. Okay, let's type facebook.com. Okay, so I think it's not properly loading, so that should be just really quick. Let's see. So if you're going to see the PC, like on this one, there's no DNS server set up on the pool or on the IP, so we need to fix that as well on the DHCP. So we have to go back to DHCP and then configure the services on the pool itself, so the 2.0. So this one, we're going to add a DNS server of 192.168.1.9. That's going to be the DNS server, and save it. Okay, let's see if we're going to reflect now the DNS server. So let's get the IP again. So I'm getting now the DNS server. So let's see if we're going to get the facebook.com. We're able to be redirected to that one. Okay, why it's not working still? Host name and resolve. Facebook.com. Host name and resolve. Let's see. Did I properly set it up? It's on. It's facebook.com. it's directing over to 1.10. 1.1 is a default gateway. 1.9. Let's see the facebook.com. 1.10, 1.1. Okay, let's go to this one. Let's see if it's going to. But I need to set up the pool as well. Right? If it's hostname unresolved, I think we need to. Going to 192.168.1.9. Did I fix the gateway? DNS. Okay, let me try to add the DNS server itself. Here, 1.9. Okay, let's try one more time. Oh, okay, here we go. So it's already working. So I think the one that we made changes would be this one, right? The facebook.com. Yep. So that's the part that we've made our changes. Let me just plug in. Usually there's like a static sound when I plug in my laptop. So there you go. So it's already working. We just forget the DNS server on the DHCP itself. So even though the pool is working, the main DHCP server was not able to provide the a record for that facebook.com. So even in real life, that's the whole setup. Though of course, it deals with load balancing with different IP for single domain name. Like for example, facebook.com. If you're going to check the record of that, that will be distributed to different servers of Facebook. So it's not just a single IP, but that's the idea and the concept itself for DHCP and also for DNS server. Okay, so we're going to continue our lectures next week. So hope you guys learned something, and please like the video or put a comments if you have questions regarding our series. Okay, happy weekend and goodbye for now.